Imagine opening your phone and seeing exactly the video you needed to watch. Not wanted, needed. The exact topic, the exact mood. Almost as if something knew what you were about to think. Most people call this coincidence. Some call it personalization. But inside the world's largest technology companies, there's another word for it. Prediction. Every click you make, every video you watch, every second you hesitate, every post you ignore, every search you abandon, every late-night scroll becomes part of a system trying to answer one question. What will you do next? And the answer to that question is worth billions of dollars. Because the companies shaping the digital world are no longer competing to understand what people did yesterday. They're competing to predict what people will do tomorrow. And in many cases, the predictions are becoming surprisingly accurate. The strange part? The algorithm doesn't know your name. It doesn't know your dreams. It doesn't know your secrets. Yet sometimes, it seems to understand your behavior better than you do. How? And what happens when prediction becomes one of the most valuable businesses on Earth? Every day, millions of people wake up and reach for their phones before speaking to another human being. It's become so normal that most people never question it. Open, scroll, watch, tap, repeat. But while people experience the internet as content, algorithms experience it as behavior. They don't see videos. They don't see photos. They don't see opinions. They see signals, patterns, probabilities. A pause becomes a signal. A click becomes a signal. A search becomes a signal. Even ignoring something becomes a signal. Because every action reveals information. And information reveals patterns. And once enough patterns are collected, something remarkable begins to happen. Prediction becomes possible. Not perfect prediction, not mind reading, just probability. Imagine flipping a coin once. The result is uncertain. Flip it 1,000 times, and patterns begin to emerge. Humans work the same way, not individually, collectively. Most people believe their behavior is completely unique, and in many ways, it is. But when viewed at scale, patterns appear, habits appear, probabilities appear. This is where algorithms gain their advantage. Not because they're intelligent, not because they're conscious, because they can analyze more patterns than any human ever could. And every year, the amount of data grows larger. The computing power grows stronger. The models grow better. The predictions grow more accurate. Which brings us to a fascinating question. If prediction systems are learning from behavior, what exactly are they building? Because companies aren't collecting billions of signals simply to store them. They're using them to create something. A model. Imagine meeting someone who has watched every decision you've made online. Every search. Every pause. Every click. Every purchase. Every late-night curiosity. Every moment of boredom. Not just once, but for years. Now imagine that person never forgets. That's closer to how modern prediction systems operate. Because the goal isn't simply collecting data. The goal is building a model, a representation, a prediction layer. Something capable of estimating what you're likely to do next. Not a copy of you. Not a clone. Not a conscious version of yourself. A behavioral model. A system designed to estimate probabilities. What video are you likely to watch? What product are you likely to buy? What topic are you likely to search? What content are you likely to ignore? The more signals collected, the more accurate the model becomes. Not because it understands you, because it understands patterns. And once enough patterns exist, the system can begin forecasting behavior before it happens. Not perfectly, but often well enough to be useful. The process looks something like this. Every recommendation creates new behavior. Every new behavior creates new data. Every new data point improves the model, and the cycle continues. This is why prediction systems improve over time. Every interaction becomes training. Every decision becomes feedback. Every outcome becomes information. And this creates a powerful advantage, because the company with the best predictions often controls the best recommendations. The best recommendations attract more attention. More attention creates more data. More data creates better predictions. And better predictions attract even more attention. Which is why prediction has quietly become one of the most valuable assets in the digital economy. But prediction alone isn't enough, because even the most accurate model still faces a problem: attention. A prediction only matters if it reaches someone. And in a world overflowing with information, attention becomes the real battlefield. For most of history, information was scarce. People searched for books, searched for experts, searched for answers. Finding information was the challenge. Today, the challenge is the opposite. Information is everywhere. More videos, more posts, more articles, more opinions, more content than any human could ever consume. Which creates a new problem. If everything is available, how do you decide what gets seen? Because nobody can process everything. Nobody can watch everything. Nobody can read everything. Which means something has to choose. And increasingly, that something is an algorithm. Every feed, every search result, every recommendation page, every trending section represents countless invisible decisions. What should appear first? What should appear second? What should disappear entirely? Those decisions happen so quickly. Most people never notice them. But they shape almost everything people see online. The process looks something like this. The internet feels open, but most people never experience the internet directly. They experience a filtered version of it. A personalized reality, constructed one recommendation at a time. Two people can open the same platform at the same time and see completely different worlds. Different videos, different news, different conversations, different opportunities. Because every recommendation influences what comes next, and what comes next influences future behavior. Which means attention isn't just valuable. Attention is leverage. And once attention becomes valuable, the next question becomes obvious. Who controls the flow of attention? Most people think algorithms make recommendations, and that's true. But recommendations are only the visible layer. Beneath them sits something much more important: a decision engine. A system constantly deciding what deserves attention. Because every second, the internet produces more information than any human could ever consume. Millions of videos, millions of posts, millions of articles, millions of products, millions of conversations. The problem is no longer information scarcity, it's information overload. And when information becomes infinite, selection becomes power. Selection becomes power. Someone or something must decide what gets seen, what gets buried, what gets amplified, and what disappears. That role increasingly belongs to algorithms, not because they are smarter than humans, because the scale is impossible for humans to manage alone. Imagine opening a platform containing 10 million new pieces of content today. How would you choose what appears first? What appears second? What never appears at all? The answer is ranking. And ranking is a form of decision-making. Every feed, every search result, every recommendation page, every trending section represents countless invisible choices. The algorithm is constantly asking, what is most relevant? What is most likely to keep attention? What is most likely to create engagement? What is most likely to produce the outcome we want? And then it decides, quietly, instantly, millions of times every second. The strange thing is, most people never experience the internet directly. They experience a filtered version of it, a personalized reality. Two people can open the same platform at the same moment in the same country and see completely different worlds. Different videos, different news, different creators, different conversations, different opportunities. The process looks something like this. The algorithm doesn't create reality, but it shapes which parts of reality reach you. And what reaches you repeatedly starts influencing how you understand the world. This is why attention has become so valuable, because attention determines exposure. Exposure influences beliefs. Beliefs influence decisions. And decisions influence outcomes. The most powerful companies in history once controlled resources: oil, steel, factories, infrastructure. Today's most powerful companies increasingly control something else: the flow of information, the pathways of attention, the decisions behind visibility.
And those decisions affect billions of people every single day. But even this isn't the final stage, because the most advanced systems are no longer just deciding what you see. They're beginning to anticipate what you'll need before you ask for it.
And that changes the game entirely. Because eventually, the system starts anticipating needs before they are expressed. Which raises a fascinating question. What happens when prediction becomes so accurate that it feels like the machine knows what you're going to do before you do? For most people, prediction still sounds like science fiction, something futuristic, something distant, something that belongs in movies. But prediction isn't a future technology. It's a present technology. It's already deciding recommendations, already ranking information, already shaping attention, already influencing behavior. And every year, the systems become faster, the models become larger, the signals become richer, the predictions become better. Because prediction is no longer simply about understanding behavior. It's becoming about anticipating needs. What information will be useful? What product will be relevant? What content will be engaging? What solution will be needed? The goal is simple. Reduce uncertainty. Increase accuracy. Improve outcomes. And in many industries, that creates enormous value. Healthcare, finance, logistics, education, marketing, technology. Because the ability to predict what happens next has always been valuable. The difference now is scale. Billions of signals, millions of models, trillions of calculations, operating continuously, quietly, invisibly, relentlessly. So, does the algorithm really know you better than you know yourself? Not exactly. It doesn't understand your dreams, your memories, your experiences, or your inner life. But it may understand your patterns, your habits, your routines, your probabilities. And sometimes, patterns are enough. Because in the digital economy, the companies that understand patterns often understand outcomes. And the companies that understand outcomes shape the future. But understanding behavior is only the beginning, because prediction itself has become an industry, a machine, a system operating at global scale. And in the next documentary, we're going inside that machine to uncover how modern prediction systems work, how they learn, how they improve, and why prediction may be one of the most valuable technologies ever created. Watch next, The Prediction Machine, because the future of artificial intelligence may not be intelligence at all. It may be prediction.